Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today I'm going to look at getting started in Toonly. It had been my intention to show you the first few minutes of my working with Toonly, but that was like about 60 minutes long. I learned so much in the process that I decided to restart with a little bit of a tighter video tutorial. So once you've installed Toonly, you're going to open it, and if there are updates, just please go ahead and do those because they're updating it all the time, and some of the most recent updates may well be of value to you. Then you're going to click Create New Video and you're going to give it a title. Now this is version 2 of my promo. I'm just going to give it a name that reflects that and I'll click Create. Now the other thing that you should do as soon as you have purchased Toonly is go and have a look at the tutorials. There's a page which is toonly.com/tutorials. It's full of a number of basic getting started tutorials, and believe me, it's going to make things a whole lot easier. It's also going to save you from having to ask for help on the Toonly website because you didn't look at those video tutorials. Most of the basics are there, so I highly recommend that. They're very easy to watch and they're pretty quick. Now, from my experience with playing around with Toonly for about an hour, the next thing that I would do is make sure that if you're using a voiceover and if you've planned to record it, that you record it now up front, and so that you can bring it in as an audio track. It's going to make life a lot easier because you're going to know how long each scene needs to be. You might also run through your audio track and just calculate where each point is that you're going to change the scene in your animation to reflect what it is that you're saying in the audio. I haven't done that. I will do it later, but right now I haven't done that, but I think it's a really good thing to do. Make sure that your audio is in an audio format. If you go to audio here and click upload sound, which is what you're going to do, you need to be using an MP3, a WAV, an OGG, an WMA, a FLAC, or an AAC. I had mine saved as an MP4, so I had to go and re-encode it as an MP3, so just be aware of that. It will also help if you have an idea as to what you want to do. And so I have previously had animations for my courses made by somebody on Fiverr. It cost me $300 for the first one and $200 for each of the subsequent ones because they were sort of based on the first one and they were done at the same time. What I learnt from that is that it's expensive and I would like to be able to produce my own, and I think that with Toonly I could probably get to about 75% of the quality that I was getting from Fiverr, but certainly at a fraction of the cost. And so I think that it's worthwhile, at least for me. I've determined that it's going to be worthwhile. I did upgrade it to the Enterprise Edition though, because I did want more characters and more actions that they could take, for example. The first thing you'll want to do probably is when you come in, especially if you're a woman, is change your profile picture because they're all men. Well, it's a man. So go up here and choose user details, and I'm just going to confirm that, and here you can come in and change your details. So you can click here and change the image and change your email address and stuff like that. So just be aware that you'll probably want to do that. Now I'm just going to save mine and get out of here. Well, I'm going to go back over here to my videos. So now that I've sort of shown you the basic setup and the things that you might want to think about before you get started, let's get started. And the first scene of my animation is going to have a single color background. So I'm going to backgrounds, and up here at the top is a solid background. So I'm just going to drag it into the work area. And then if I come down here and right click, I can change the color, and so I can just choose it from the color picker. I'm going to use a sort of blue and I'll click save. Now, if you know how long your audio is going to be for this particular scene, now would be a really good time to bring your audio file in and just make sure that everything is sized to it. So I've already imported my audio file, so I'm just going to drag it down here. I'm going to put it in the voiceover area of the timeline. And by default, the voiceover is going to play over all your subsequent scenes. So when I add scene 2, the voiceover is going to play over that scene. Of course, it doesn't have a background right now. Let me just go and put a plain background in it. And so the default is 4 seconds. And so we've got the first 4 seconds of audio playing on scene 1 and then another 4 seconds of audio, and it would continue to play across the tracks. Well, my audio needs to be longer than that. My scene needs to be longer than that. So I'm just going to go and get my background. I'm going to drag it out to this point because this is where I want the change. And I'm just going to confirm that before I go any further. And so on the next scene, it's going to continue from there. So I've just made sure that the scene change is in place because you're going to have to make everything the length that it needs to be for the scene. So determining exactly how long the scene is going to be is going to save you a whole lot of time as you're putting pieces onto it. So what I need to do now is to add some text. So I'm going to the text tool. I just want some plain text, so I'll just choose smooth text. I'm going to add it here. I can choose the font and the font color. Let's just go and see what fonts we've got here. You can upload your own fonts. I think I'll go for one of the ones that is in here right now. That looks okay to me, and so I'm going to start typing my text. Now, while I may want my text to come in slowly, I certainly don't want it to go out slowly, so I'm going to remove the duration out entirely. Let's just see what that's going to look like.
Hello and welcome to this
So there's my first line of text. I want it to run for the length of the entire scene, so I'm just going to move it up to the end of the scene. I need some more text, so I'm going to drag and drop this one in. Select it. Make sure I'm using the same font. I don't want it to fade out, but it can fade in. I think that's going to be okay. Now you can see that the text has been added at the end of the scene, so I'm just going to put it back into the scene. You want to be careful with that you don't build out your scenes to be longer than they need to be by just dumping your text in the wrong place. Now, as for the beginning of this piece of text, I think I'd like it to appear after the previous piece of text has already appeared. And I want another piece of text. So again, I'm going to place my playhead this time where I want the text to begin. I'll drag and drop it into the work area. I'll go and select the font I'm going to use. I keep missing that. And then I'll add my text. Now you can see that this text is not the full length of the scene, and it's also got that end animation which I don't want it to have. So let's just go and select it and let's turn off the duration out. Let's test this.
Hello and welcome to.
Okay, so I've got my text that's working just fine. Now I want my character. For characters, you'll just go to the characters tab. Now you're going to have less characters if you're working with just the regular version than you will have if you're working with the enterprise version. So I just need to find a character that I want to use. Okay, so I've got some choices of white American women, which would be the kind of character that I'm looking for, and I can just determine which one I want to use. I think the one that's probably closest to what I want is this. So having added all those other characters, I'm now going to just delete them. Now at this stage the characters are just what they are, so you can't reclothe them, you can't create your own characters or anything like that, so you need to choose a character that you can work with. Now for this character, I know that I want them to be pretty large in the work area. I also want them to come in and just be there in the scene. Now one of the things that Toonly does is that every single character sort of appears, they sort of bounce in. And so it looks like that, and it's just not the way I want mine to look. So I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to change the in and out effects to instant. I wish that there was a way that you could make that the default, because it's probably what I would want to have everything appear as just instant. I don't want things to be bouncing all over the place. I just don't like that look. But just be aware that you are probably going to have to change every single one of those starting points so that you make sure that your transitions are smooth the way you want them to be. Okay, so this is pretty much the first slide except for one thing, and this is where we may have problems. When I first looked at putting this slide together, I have a Illustrator logo that I want to put in here, and I was having terrible difficulties with it, and I had to go to the help people, the support people, to get assistance. So this is my AI logo, and what was happening, and it's still happening, is that it's bringing in this white area. Well, sometimes it's white and sometimes it's black, and it's just not behaving correctly. Now, it is a known issue, and hopefully they're going to clean it up really quickly, because right now I have an animation I can't use because this is just looking awful, and I can't get rid of this white area. The image is only this size, of the size of the AI logo, and it seems to be bringing in all sorts of things that it shouldn't be. So just be aware that if there are problems as you go along with your animation, if you see things that are a problem, just report them to the help people. They're very nice and they reply very quickly. They haven't fixed this, but I only told them about it last night. I'm not sure that they were aware of it before that. And so I'm just going to put this in as a placeholder, so I know later on that when they fix it, if I need to replace the image, for example, I can easily know where it is and what needs to be done. But there's no point in leaving it out right now. I need to make sure my animations are looking good before I progress and finish it all off. So right now I'm calling that first scene done, and so we're going to move to scene 2. Now I'm not sure how long this scene's going to be, so I'm just going to make it really long and listen to the audio and determine where it needs to be cut off and where we're going to transition to the next scene.
I'm Helen Bradley and I have years.
Okay, so this is only going to be a short one. I'm thinking that this is probably going to be the transition. So I'm going to bring back my background. And I actually don't want a solid color background here, but I just put it in as a placeholder. And sometimes if you want to sort of measure things out and go ahead into other scenes, you can just come into a new scene, just go to the backgrounds and just bring in the solid color background, the white, and then you've got something you can work with, and you can easily replace it later on. So I'm going back to scene 2 where I've got this solid color background. What I want is a sort of office environment. Now there wasn't one that I could use when I was just using the regular version, so I'm going to see if there's anything that I can use now that I have upgraded to Enterprise. So there were computer labs and conference rooms, none of which really worked for me. But here there is now an office. Well, there are actually a couple of offices. And this is, I believe, in this Enterprise version. So I'm just going to have a look at the offices and see which one is going to be my office, if you like. So this is the one that was in the regular version. And if that's all you've got for an office, then what you'll do is use that and then go and get the objects. For example, go and add a desk and a computer and whatever else. So there's a desk here that you can add in. And then you could go and get a computer and so on. And you could use an office chair. And you can sort of build up the scene yourself. But I'm kind of liking these other office backgrounds, so I'm going to go and use one of those. Of course, I need to get rid of the objects that I don't want in my office anymore, because this office comes with a whole heap of desk accessories. Okay, I think this is going to be the office that I'm going to use, so I'm going to bring my character back in. And again, I'm going to need to change her in and out effects, so as I don't want her to bounce around, so I'm just going to make her instantly appear. And I want her in for the whole of this scene. Okay, so it looks like the backgrounds are also coming in with bounces on them. So let me just go and locate the office here. Right click on it and make sure that there's no entrance animation. Okay, so what I want to do ultimately is have her move her mouth when I'm speaking. So when the voiceover underneath is playing, I want her to move her mouth. Now you can't do that in Toonly right now. And so what I plan to do is what somebody has done on YouTube and showed how they did it, was that they actually created a mouth GIF. And so the GIF file is moving, and you can bring GIF files into Toonly. So I plan to do that long term. So I'm not sort of worried about giving her too much in the way of actions, because I am going to have a moving mouth later on, but just not right now. I may want to give her some gestures though. So let's just go and see what sort of gestures are available. She can sit, think, wait, walk. There are all sorts of things that she can do. And so what I'm looking at is something that she might do with her hand. Well, let's just see what saying hi looks like. Okay, so as I'm saying in my voiceover, I'm Helen Bradley, and introducing myself, it would be really nice if she did just wave, but I don't want to wave all the way through this scene. So what I'm going to do is bring her back to this point, which is where we stop the wave, and then I'll hit the plus sign here, and I'm going to add an idle. So the type, I'm just going to do idle. So that's how you get multiple sort of gestures within a scene. You add your character and give them the gesture, and then you stop them. And so that you need to put them, or the stop point, at where you want it to stop on the timeline. And then you tap this plus symbol here and add another version of your character, same size, same position and everything, but give them a gesture. And I just want her to be idle. I don't want her to be waving her hands around. And so I'm thinking that apart from a whiteboard, which I want over here with Adobe Illustrator on it, this is pretty much my scene. So let's go to objects, and I know there's a whiteboard. Oh, it was a flip chart, I think. Okay, here's the flip chart. That's what I want. And so on this flip chart, I want my Adobe Illustrator logo, but the flip chart is going to bounce. So I have to make sure that its in effect and its out effect are both instant, and I want to make sure that it's there on the timeline for the entire length of this scene. So let's just run through and make sure it all looks okay. Okay, so what I need to do then is to just bring in this Adobe Illustrator logo, and I'm just going to place it where it's going to go. And of course it's not only the wrong size, but it's also got this stupid piece of white in it. Okay, it's really not able to be resized either. So I've got a smaller version of it, so I might just trash this one. I might bring in and upload the smaller version. So this is how you bring in your own illustrations. You can bring in JPEGs, PNGs and GIFs. And I've got this as a JPEG here. It's smaller, much smaller than the original. So I'm just going to open that. And I'm calling this mini AI logo. That's fine. You can name it whatever you like. It just makes it easier to search. Let's bring this one in at a smaller size. Okay, so this one hasn't got the garbage that the other one had. So I am thinking that I might go and try and see how it looks on that other scene and see if we can sort of nail that. Okay, and it's going to bounce as well. So again, coming back in and making sure that it's instantly visible as soon as the scene starts, and that it lasts the full length of the scene. So one of the things that I would really like in this program, and I think that it suffers from the lack of, is that there's not really a snap here on the timeline. These elements don't like really snap, maybe as well as say video editing software that you're familiar with, but it's okay, you can do it. It's just not probably as smooth a snap as you're used to. So let's go and try this one here and see if it works. Well, seems like I've at least got something that works today that I didn't have yesterday. Making sure that this is going to appear where I want it to appear. So I'm thinking I might just have it snap into place. So let's just, so I'm just going to turn the sound off and just see how that looks. So that looks pretty good. Let's go and check out the next scene. I'm waving and then I'm talking about what I'm going to do, and then I'm on to the next scene. And so I would just continue through adding the elements, and there'll be text elements, there'll be that one character appearing over and over again. So I'll probably just speed up the video at this point and add a few extra slides in so you can see what it's going to look like. But before we do that, let's have a look at the basics like saving and exporting. So when you want to, you can save your file. So just click on the save button, and it would be wise, obviously, to save it on a regular basis. When you've got your animation ready to export, you obviously click the export button. Now you can choose where you're going to put that video. You can choose the resolution, and for me it's going to be 1080p. because that's what I use, and the quality and the format. So you've got a choice of formats, and you'll also have a choice of quality depending on where you're putting this. And for Udemy, I'll be using maximum quality. And then I would click continue, and then that would encode my video. Now, if you're not 100% sure that everything's going to look all right, just encode a low quality version to start off with, because that's going to be much quicker encoding, and so you can have a look at it and see if it needs alteration, because chances are it is going to need some amendment. Do I like Toonly? Yes, I do. There's some things I don't like about it. I think that the characters are a bit bendy. So these arms, instead of being sharp, tend to be really bendy, and on some characters more bendy than others. I would like more characters. I would like more facial expressions. I would like more gestures, and particularly sort of standing, talking gestures, maybe a little bit of movement, but not these really big movements. I'd like a snap. There are lots of things that I would like, but I think that for the price, it's going to be worthwhile. I think that for under the cost of one of these animated videos that I've been purchasing, that I can make my own to a relatively high quality, and certainly a good enough quality to be able to use as animated intros for my classes. If you've got any questions about Toonly and want some assistance, post it in the comment section below, and I'll see what I can do to help you out, because I think I'll be adding Toonly videos over time to just show you what's available in it. And certainly one of the things that I do want to do is create that animated GIF file with the mouth and then put it on the character and show you how that's going to work. So that will be something that I'll be adding later on. So I hope this video has been of help to you. Click the subscribe button, the like button, the notification bell. I'm going to continue on with this and just record perhaps the next slide or two so that you can see me at work. But in the meantime, if you're signing off now, I'll look forward to seeing you in another video at another time. Thank you for joining me here today on my YouTube channel.
Students and professional designers, seminars, webinars, online and face-to-face. This advanced pattern making masterclass builds on your existing pattern. This advanced pattern making masterclass builds on your existing pattern making skills and shows you how to develop more complex patterns. You'll learn to
Hello and welcome to this Adobe Illustrator Advanced Pattern Making Masterclass. I'm Helen Bradley and I have years of experience working with Adobe Illustrator. I've taught thousands of students and professional designers in seminars, webinars, online and face-to-face. I'm passionate about designing with Adobe Illustrator and making it easy for anyone to learn. This advanced pattern making masterclass builds on your existing pattern making skills and shows you how to develop more complex patterns. So that's it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, leave a comment if you need to, and I'll see you in the next video.